Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Progressive Discussions. I am here for Progressive Discussions at the Newsletter Censored Research Center in northeastern New Jersey. I am James Piranha Madonna, your host of Progressive Discussions, and I am here with my illustrious co-host, the one and only, the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman, founder of Newsletter Censored in 1977. How are you today, sir?
Fine.
It happens to be an extremely strange and unseasonably warm winter day. It happens to be Saturday, January the 7th, 2012. Am I correct?
Yeah.
2012, the infamous 2012. Ooh. And it's like, it feels like spring outside. It feels like it's in the 60s. What was the estimated high for today?
58.
58 degrees in January the 7th.
I love it.
Boy, 2012 is starting off to a very unusual start, to say the least. I've never seen this before. Then again, I never had hay fever attacks in the winter. I had hardly any hay fever attacks in June, in the springtime of 2011. And when winter came, I started getting severe hay fever attacks, and I've been taking Benadryl.
That sounds more like a mold to me.
Mold spores?
Yeah.
I've been taking Benadryl,
you know,
twice a day in the winter. You figure. So you think it's maybe mold spores? Do you know some of the trees are budding early in 2012?
That's not good.
In the winter of 2012?
They're going to die.
So this might affect in other words, if they bud and flower prematurely and we get a big blizzard and the temperature dips, we get an Arctic blast, your estimation is those buds and or leaves will perish, and then when springtime really comes, are they going to bud and leaf again?
And this week coming, the jet stream is going to dip, so that cold air is coming down.
Wow.
Arctic air.
Arctic air. Now, of course, I saw that documentary about the polar ice caps melting, and the fate of the polar bears are in serious jeopardy. And but you know, conservative Republicans continue to believe that global warming is a lie.
You just reminded me. I think.
And I saw the satellite picture. It's shrinking the ice cap. Wow.
I think the way to get the Republicans on board about global warming is
put the Earth
when the sea opens up there in the Arctic, you know, from all the melting ice,
and the sea level rises 10 feet.
Well, yeah, but you're going to be able to transport all the ships through there and everything. So I think when the dollar, the bottom line, is involved, commerce, business, I think the Republicans will come on board and say, "Wow, global warming! Look at that!
How wonderful!" They're going to say, "Oh, global warming, we love it." Once there's a dollar bill present, they love it. They're going to love global warming.
Yeah.
And of course, the ships just go right across the Arctic Sea. Of course, the sea level will rise. They said an average of 10 feet throughout the world, which is not good for
New York,
for island countries and lowland places like Florida and cities that are on the coast. Bad news.
Bad news.
But you know, they did mention something, Dr. Bill. They said that the oil companies are looking for oil on the northern coast of Canada, you know, in the Arctic Circle. They're looking for oil now that there's no ice and snow present. They're looking for new sites to drill, and they're complaining that the polar bears that decided out of necessity to go south are going through their dumpsters and trying to attack people, and they got a big sign that says polar bears and people don't mix.
There you go.
Which they don't, because polar bears, and there's a lot of grizzlies up there too, these are more or less carnivorous bears, not like the black bear. They are opportunistic, they're carnivorous, they scavenge, and guess what? They set bonfires for the polar bears to try to spook them off, to scare them off. Didn't work. The polar bears, who are used to living in a frigid, solid ice world, did not care about the bonfires. They were right next to the bonfires and tearing into the garbage. So these bears are not spooked off by
Survival,
I mean,
man, survival.
If polar bears are not spooked off by fire, then, you know, then it wasn't something said in the Bible about the changing of the behavior of animals, of beasts of the earth?
Yeah, they're going to be more ferocious in the end time.
Well, look, man is building into their territory with greedy real estate companies. We're building into their land.
It's because they weaken the EPA.
And then what happened?
Those EPA laws, and there's what is it, PETA and the other animal rights organizations. Get these people out of it. We want to drill for oil, man. We want to drill for oil in the United States of America and then sell that oil on the world market, not in our United States.
Oh, you mean like Sarah Nailing Palin when she used to say, drill, drill, drill?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, that would be a good thing for her.
But it won't benefit us. It goes on the world market and we pay the same stupid high price for it. When it's our oil. Like in Saudi Arabia, they have their oil.
Excuse me.
And it's like 44 cents a gallon or something for oil in Saudi Arabia because they make their own oil. They produce their own oil. But if we produce our own oil, it goes on the world market and everybody else can buy it. Yeah. And we have to still pay over $3 or whatever change per regular.
I wonder if the porno actress that did Nailin' Palin ever said drill, drill, drill.
I'm sure she did.
Oh, speaking of...
Drill me, baby, drill me!
Speaking of imbeciles like Michelle Bachmann, bubbleheaded Bachmann who quit, but they don't say quit, they say...
I'll be around.
They say, they use another word, not termination, not resign. They use another word that is that sounds less
like they were defeated.
Less like they were defeated. It's another word that they're using now. They don't use the word quit. They've quit the campaign. It's less defeated sounding. And offhand, I know I heard it on the news a few days ago, but I should have wrote it down. But anyway, it's a different word. It's all the same bullshit, you know what I mean? Anyway, here's a tribute to the conservative coven of witches. Well, they all are. They're all political morons, but this is how they sound. They sound like a slide whistle because their voices are like absolutely horrible, like fingernails going across a chalkboard. You know, like this stupid Hyundai commercial that they kept on playing during the Christmas season with this woman, this girl, this young female with a stupid smile on her face, and when she sang, she was so nasal, it sounded just as bad as fingernails across a chalkboard. But of course, what can be more obnoxious than a car dealer commercial or a furniture store commercial, or, you know, unbelievable. I don't know. This girl would never make it to American Idol. She would immediately, you know, be dispatched. But I don't know. She only in America could you be a no talent bum or a freak of nature and make a fortune. You know, look at imbeciles like Snooki and Lady Gaga. You know, I mean.
I believe some of the cast of Jersey Shore were on Ellen. I believe it was yesterday or the day before.
Degenerate.
Yeah. And she asked them a question. I think they were playing that game where she dunks them if they give the wrong answer.
Like drown the clown?
Yeah. And she asked who is in charge of the executive portion of our government? And they didn't know the answer.
Really? Well, Snooki thinks that
Presidente. That's the executive.
Presidente. Snooki thinks that Europe is a very large country. And she says, this is when they were in Italy, and she says, well, Italy's even smaller. And she's making millions, and other people are busting their ass and will never make a tiny fraction of what Snooki makes. And she just goes on acting like an imbecile, brain dead, and she's making millions. Only in America. Only in America. And of course, suckers, the celebrities, let's put it this way. The celebrities, as stupid and low talent as they might be, you can't really blame them for, you know, well, some may say it's a scam, but, you know, they'll only continue if the people give them the power. It's the population, the so-called fans, that make them who they are by giving them constant attention and media coverage and you know, and practically worshiping them. Mm-hmm. It's the idiots, the lemmings in America, that give them the power. Just like it's the idiot lemmings that voted for a Republican Congress last November. Now, I just want to say, here's me prop. This is me prop. And imported Blackthorn Irish Shillelagh, imported from Ireland. It helps me emphasize certain points. It's like an Irish gavel. Much more powerful than Judge Judy's, and much nicer looking too. Anyway, you know, Bill, Dr. Bill, last week we did the New Year's Eve special show, the infamous 2012 Happy New Year show. And I didn't realize it last week, but last week was the 100th show, which means that not only was it the New Year's Eve special, welcome infamous 2012, but it happened to be our 100th show, which made it, past tense, our anniversary show. So, being that there was so much going on with New Year's Eve of 2012, New Year's 2012, I'm going to make this show the 101 episode volume of Progressive Discussions, our anniversary show. Happy anniversary to us. 101. Now, when we first started Progressive Discussions, it wasn't called Progressive Discussions. It was exactly the same format, but we started off with a company that I believe no longer exists, called Alternicast, and we had the same basic format, open and free exchange of ideas and discussing many different subjects that are interesting, fascinating, and very important to our society: politics, religion, you know, the 5 taboos of American life. So the format really never changed. Okay, it was a very well-balanced variety of important topics.
But it was just internet radio.
Right, internet radio. So myself and the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman would banter back and forth. Anyway, after Alternicast went belly up, we decided to call it, or I decided to call it, the Eisenman Interviews. Then we changed the name later on to Discussions, and now finally we changed the name to Progressive Discussions to more accurately define what it is. And yeah, it's our 101 show already, and it's unbelievable how time flies. Now, I believe you have a series of articles to read involving the Humane Society in America.
Animal shelters.
Animal shelter.
Shelters.
Shelters. Now, last week you read an article about the Humane Society of Arizona, where 9-month-old Scruffy the cat was needlessly killed
to death.
Euthanized. Killed it. For just
twice.
She just had a small cut, and the poor man, who was poor in Arizona, he was a recovering heroin addict.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, he was poor. He got slapped with a bill for $400, an astronomical, insane bill to give to a poor man that has a sick pet. $400 for a little cut. So, long story short, he couldn't pay the $400, so they killed his poor 9-month-old pet, Scruffy, which is horrible. Now, which means if you're poor, you know, even if you go to the Humane Society, you still get slapped with a rip-off highway robbery bill, and if you can't pay it, they kill your pet. Really nice. So, you know what? I'm going to call this title, excuse me. I'm going to call this title The Inhumane Humane Society, and then of course I want to talk about something before you start that relates to the second half of the title, and this is it. They showed on the news the 2012 Republican campaign. In this case, it was the Iowa caucus, and they showed all the participants, you know, running for the Republican Party. All of a sudden, in the Iowa caucus, they're all preaching God. They're all giving little sermons.
This is unexpected.
Now, they all did it, like one after the other, heavy duty this time, all of them. So since when are right-wing conservative Republicans really close to God and real Christians, that they have the nerve and the audacity to preach and sermonize to the American people? Because let me tell you something, Republicans, everything that they're for is anti-Bible, anti-God of the Bible, because they are against social programs for helping the poor. They are against the rich giving to the poor. They are all for greed. They represent greed, the love of money, which is idolatry. They don't believe in helping the poor. They don't even like the minimum wage law or Social Security or Medicare. They don't like it. They want to get rid of all of it. So if they're so anti-little guy, and they're so stingy and greedy, and they are against the rich helping the poor, and they are against the rich paying taxes at all, then how on earth, if this is what the Bible contains throughout, how on earth could Republicans have the audacity, the gall, to preach Christianity to the American people?
But they do.
How are they the foremost authority on Christianity where they could sermonize to you during the campaign, but they are completely against helping the poor? They hate the poor. They're not for it. So that makes them big hypocrites. That makes them counterfeit Christians. And since they want to rewrite the Bible and make it very money-oriented, and say greed is good and selfishness is a virtue, they violate the last chapter of the book of Revelations, which says, do not add anything to this book or take away, otherwise God's going to get you, man. He's going to piss him off. But they do it. So your figure on this. Excuse me.
Well, that's because they have created a God in their own image. They're not interested in the God of the Bible.
I'm sorry.
We're way past that. But the problem is...
Say what you were saying, because I got a little bit of a hay fever attack from the mold, and I made a lot of noise. You were saying about your take on the GOP candidates preaching Christianity when they hate the poor and want to starve off and kill the poor.
Well, they've made their God in their own image. They do not adhere to the God of the Bible.
Okay.
So they have their image, they have their traditions, they have their tenets, they have their rules, their regulations. They pick and choose what they want, and that's their religion. Now, it's a very funny thing.
Yeah, that they're all preaching God. Sure, it's a funny thing.
Well, not that, but what Rick Santorum.
Oh, Sanitarium? Rick Sanitarium, that freak of, that jerk. Tell the people what Rick Santorum did in the past.
Well, I'm not going there right now. Unless
I will.
I mean, he did once upon a time. I believe his wife miscarried or something of that nature, and he brought the fetus home to his kids, and he said that was either their brother or sister, whatever the sex of the fetus was.
Right.
The fetus, mind you. Not the fully grown baby, but the fetus.
Which means a lot to Republicans. The unborn child.
Absolutely. It means everything to them.
If you're a poor...
Once the child's born, forget about it.
Yeah, if you're a poor child, you're worthless, you know, because then you need social programs, you see. But the point is, he had the fetus in some kind of jar of formaldehyde or something, and to show his kids, to stick this jar in front of his kid's face and saying, here's your brother, this was your brother, What a wacko some right-wing fundamentalists, holy rollers are. Seriously, just like the people are getting pissed off at Tim Tebow, you know, with his stupid Tebowing. The same thing. This is worse. This is a presidential candidate for president in 2012,
and was a senator.
A senator doing something this crazy. You see how freaky right-wing fundamentalists are. Now, what were you going to say about?
You get enough money, you can get anything elected.
Well, what's the old saying? If you're rich, you're called eccentric. You're not crazy. If you're poor, you're crazy.
Yeah, you're mentally ill. They want to put you in that house.
Now, what were you going to say about Santorum?
Oh, Rick Santorum is a Catholic, a Roman Catholic.
He has my sympathies.
Well, he should have more than sympathies, because he should have a knowledge of the history of his church. And they're killing 50 million people and try to convert them by the sword and whatever.
The Inquisition, yeah.
I mean, this church actually killed, mind you, martyred the disciples of Jesus.
The very early Roman Catholic Church. Yes.
Well, what became the Roman Catholic
and they
Church.
They also euthanized millions of cats, thinking that they were of the devil. They were demons.
Black cats, yeah.
Yeah, witches, familiars.
Yeah.
But anyway, first article on the animal shelter. How many do we have?
I think we had 2.
That's good. That's good. All right, we get them out of the way.
The Bloomingdale Animal Shelter, where a sweet-natured pit bull was stolen this week.
Bloomingdale, what state?
New Jersey.
I know it. It's northern Passaic County, I believe.
This week.
Yeah.
Has been near the brink of insolvency. Flooded 3 times in a year and a half, and is so crowded that makeshift quarters had to be found for some of the animals. The president of the all-volunteer Bloomingdale Regional Animal Shelter Society says she fears the organization eventually will go under, even with a monthly infusion of $2,500 from Bloomingdale's borough's coffers. Meanwhile, as private donations dwindle, other shelters and agencies in North Jersey have resorted to different means, from aggressive fundraising to privatizing, in order to stay afloat. On Tuesday, a man approached a Bloomingdale shelter worker, inquired about the dog, a 4-year-old white pit bull, and staff favorite named Sugar.
Right.
And when the staff members were distracted, walked the dog away and drove off with it. Sugar was cited by a customer at Petco,
right,
where her abductor was returning merchandise and signing up for the store's member rewards program. Robert Biss, 24, was arrested in connection with Sugar's theft, and the dog was returned Wednesday afternoon.
Oh, I thought this was about the cruelty, the unnecessary killing by humane societies or animal shelters. This is just a light, frivolous story, right?
No.
No, it is more to it?
We don't know what it is yet.
Okay.
This is just lead-ins.
Okay.
You know. Ellen Rabitsky, the Shelter Society, and then also there's the situation here. This shelter is in dire straits. We wonder why the shelter is in dire straits.
Well, I have a solution to all the shelter problems, but continue.
The organization has been cash-starved for several years, spending its savings while being unable to afford upkeep and improvements. Donations are down, she said. And until September, the society had received no payment from the borough to manage the shelter since 2006, when its contract expired. In September, the borough began paying $2,500 a month,
which includes proceeds of contracts with 6 other towns for shelter services. We had a 10-year contract, Robitsky said. But they put us off, and they have been keeping all of the sheltering money.
Right.
Ted Ehrenberg, the borough administrator, said that's not the case. The borough had signed contracts with the 6 other towns for animal control services only, which includes an animal control officer, Lisa Perry.
Right.
And a staff and equipment Perry needs to do the job. The borough expected to earn $150,000 from its animal control contracts in 2011. It took in about $138,000 from its contracts in 2010.
Right.
Most of that money was allocated to pay $112,835 salaries.
Gee.
For 1 full-time and 2 part-time animal control officers.
Oh, gee.
So we see, the animals suffer, whilst the big boys get the big salaries. Anything different than the banksters and the big CEOs?
Corporate America. Right? The money getting siphoned all the way to the top, and the fat cats on top, the overrated, obviously overpaid CEOs and their, what is it, board of directors, or some of them.
Yeah.
See, in this case, in one case, it's people suffering, the people that are the lifeblood of the company,
the poor, the working,
the people who actually work
yeah.
for a living, you know, not push papers around. And now it affects animal shelters. So it sounds very much, Dr. Bill, like politics in this capitalist society.
That's what it amounts.
You know, the people at the top, and also it sounds very much like the old imperialistic rulers of the past, royal families. Everything gets siphoned to the top, where the very, very few hog everything.
Colonialism.
Hog everything.
Plantation economy.
Yeah, the 1% or less than 1%, if it happens to be a royal family, or it happens to be a corporation with a CEO or whatever, or a president, it's the tiny percentage on top keeps everything, greedily keeps everything, and everybody else gets shit. Meanwhile, the person on top doesn't earn his or her keep. I don't care what any corporate ass kisser says. They are paper pushers. They're not entitled to that much money. It's also like I said, today's political leaders. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, I think he gets as much as a congressman or senator, from what I understand.
Something like that.
In excess of what, 175?
So it's around, I don't know, it's around 175,000, something like that.
Per year. All right. Meanwhile, everybody else has to sacrifice. Teachers have to take a big pay cut, and so on and so on. Everybody has to sacrifice except the person giving the speech, the person in charge, like in this case, Republican right-winger conservative Chris Christie. Everybody has to make sacrifices except them. So the same mentality that runs the animal shelter and corporations and monarchies, the same mentality with politics in this capitalistic society. You know, it's all about me, greed.
See how it all ties together?
It all ties together. All right, finish off this article.
Yet, through those contracts, between 600 and 800 animals are brought to the shelter each year. Robitsky said the estimated cost to take in animals from North Caldwell alone is about $25,000, which is $5,000 short of the total sum Bloomingdale is paying the society. She said the borough's $2,500 monthly stipend covers only about 10% of the society's estimated animal expenses. The borough has tried on 3 occasions to find agencies that could take over its shelter duties. Twice the bids did not meet the borough's needs. And the last time, BASS, B-A-S-S, was the only agency that responded. Several of the contracts Bloomingdale has for animal control will expire this year. Borough officials plan to negotiate a sheltering fee to cover the cost and housing of other North Jersey towns have different arrangements. Paramus, for example, is one of the 20 Bergen County towns that contract with Tyco Animal Control. Paramus privatized its shelter in 2010 to save about $100,000. When Paramus's contract with Tyco was approved in 2010, the borough agreed to pay the company $2,500 a month. In Clifton, the Friends of the Animal Shelter works with the city to provide adoption services to animals after the city's responsibility to keep them has expired. Towns are required to shelter animals for 7 days.
That's it? And then, is this where they get the approval to euthanize animals from the local governments, from the towns?
That's it. Well, 7 days. That's it.
And you got, I tell you, politicians are scumbags, you know.
Well, I saw the figure the other day too, and I thought it was mentioned in here, but it's not. But they kill every year 7 out of 10 cats and dogs.
Wow.
That end up in shelters.
Yeah, I'm not going to say euthanize. I'm going to say kill.
That's correct.
We're going to say kill from now on. We're not going to say euthanize because it sounds too much
it
like...
sounds too friendly.
It sounds too friendly, like Dr. Kevorkian, the mercy killing, you know, euthanasia, euthanizing. No, it sounds too friendly. Kill. They kill. Needlessly kill. My solution to this problem with euthanizing animals and animal shelters being overloaded would be pass a law. Okay, you have a law that if you acquire a dog or a cat, you have to get shots for that animal. Certain shots. Like with a dog, you have rabies, distemper. What is it, parvo?
Parvo.
Parvo, okay. And I'm sure cats have their inoculations. All right. Also, make it a law, the same, right alongside the shots, that unless you have a pedigree and you signed another contract saying that you cannot spade or neuter your animal because you plan on breeding it, you plan on registering as a breeder, so you bring your, you know, if there's such a registration, you bring it to the people that provided the pet to you, and you prove to them that you are a bona fide breeder, then you are not required to spay or neuter. But if you're not going to breed your pet, it should be law that you spay or neuter them, and if you cannot afford the cost of a regular veterinarian, you can take it to the animal shelter's veterinarian, and for a very low fee, whatever, you get the animal fixed. Otherwise, they should not be allowed to have a pet. If a human being, same thing with having children, if a human being cannot assume the responsibility, what do they call it, animal husbandry? Taking care of an animal?
No, animal husbandry is when they breed them.
When they breed them, okay. Yeah. If you cannot afford the basic responsibilities of having a pet or a child, then you should not have them, okay? If you're a poor schmuck and you can't afford to pay for the doctor bill if your pet gets sick, then you cannot afford to have the pet to begin with, okay? Don't get the pet if you can't afford to keep it healthy and feed them properly and give them proper housing and a proper environment. So therefore, there should be a law about mandatory spaying and neutering. Man, it kind of like involves Octomom too, right? Yeah. But anyway, you know, it's for the good of all. Spaying and neutering is for the good of the animal shelter. It's for the good of future populations that are unwanted and get killed, and it's for the good of people too, because you know you don't have neighborhoods overrun with feral cats, Oh boy, it's sad. It's not. Look, it's not the poor kitten's fault that they're born feral. I blame humans. Humans are vile. Scum. They must have what they want. They have to have it. If something's cute, they have to have it, but they don't think about the general welfare and the future of the cat, or sometimes the child. Okay.
In Bloomingdale, Sugar is one of about 20 dogs and 160 cats cared for at the Society's shelter. But the Society has also joined a national group that ferries dogs and cats from shelters in the South that would kill otherwise adoptable pets. The function of the Society is outside the borough's purview. Rubitsky said major floods in March 2010, March 2011, and post-Hurricane Irene washed out the shelter's quarantine building, where sick cats and young cats are housed. They are now sheltered at the Borough Department of Public Works yard. The shelter leases its two-building complex from the borough for $1 a year. The shelter had been a sewer facility that served Bloomingdale and Butler. Ehrenberg, he works for the city, had tried to negotiate a contract 11 times since 2006, but the Society had rejected each offer. The borough pays for any upkeep on the buildings it owns. For example, it spent $7,000 to clear the shelter of mold after the most recent flood. But the borough will only spend what insurance and FEMA might reimburse.
Mold spores, I know it well.
The borough has been asked to fund flood mitigation projects, additional buildings, and a paved parking lot, in addition to paying the full cost to house the animals. But borough officials say they do not believe it is their responsibility to permanently shelter animals or to fund improvements that would expand the shelter.
Okay.
So they're writing off the animals.
Yeah. Well, now, do the animal shelters, do they have to directly answer to the Humane Society, or are they independent?
They're independent.
They're independent of, so a more accurate title would be...
But what is happening here is you see that the county or whatever is in charge, they want to distance themselves from these responsibilities. Just as the Republicans and the traitor Democrats wish to distance themselves from the responsibilities of taking care of the poor and the working poor and those on food stamps.
So we have a connection.
And all the rest.
So we have a connection, a pattern here, my friend.
Yes, we do.
You see, listeners and viewers and listeners, we have a pattern here. And so a more accurate title would be animal shelters needlessly kills animals, instead of bringing up inhumane or the Humane Society, which was last week's article. Inhumane, needlessly killing an animal is inhumane. So
yes, there should be. That's what I'm saying. There should be ways to handle these things, but they don't want to because they want to write these things off. Now they don't want to pay.
Now, do no-kill animal shelters do things the way you speak of properly?
Frankly,
or they try.
I'm not too trustful of what is a no-kill shelter these days.
You mean?
Because one would have thought that the Humane Society would have been a no-kill. No.
Yeah, it's called the Humane Society.
Yeah.
Humane.
I mean, they'll go out on the street if you mishandle a horse or whatever. But what about them mishandling the cats and dogs within their purview?
Nothing surprises me. I mean, you have veterans of Iraq and Afghanistan living in tents in Florida.
Oh.
And refused food stamps and welfare because they don't have an address. Duh. Naturally, they don't have an address. They're living in a tent. And then you got the tent people in Lakewood, New Jersey, that they want to evict. The town of Lakewood wants to evict them from the woods. Oh, big deal. See, there's a whole pattern here with the Humane Society of Arizona, with the animal shelters, in this case northern
Bloomingdale.
Passaic County, New Jersey, Bloomingdale, Butler. There's a big pattern. You were telling me a story that in New York, was it New York City or New York State, an animal was unneedlessly killed, euthanized. There was a situation that had to do with money. Something similar to Arizona's story about the poor that somebody getting slapped with a very high veterinary bill, and an animal was put to death.
I'm sure it happens a lot
because the veterinary bill wasn't paid by the poor individual. The rip-off. You see what's going on here? You see what's going on here with the United States that. Oh, by the way, our friends in Northern Europe are saying that everybody's well aware of Monsanto, the evil, greedy Monsanto, pushing the genetically modified sterile seeds with the European farmers, and some farmers throughout the world. I'm so happy rejected Monsanto. But our European friends said, unfortunately, everybody has a price, and if
that's correct.
If the politicians in European Union got their price, then Monsanto would take over. And there was news recently concerning genetically modified corn from Monsanto being quietly and pleasantly approved by the Obama administration, having negative side effects for those that consume the genetically modified grains. And of course, here we got the big shocker. The supposed Democratic Obama administration quietly approves Monsanto for, pushing their genetically modified corn in the U.S.
Because guess who gave funding to his campaign?
Was it Monsanto?
I believe it was.
Good goobly-goo, as Grady Wilson used to say on Sanford and Son. Good goobly-goo. So in other words, the people that run as progressive liberals when they need votes, the Democratic candidates, the ones that feel your pain with the little crocodile tear that comes out of their eye, when they get elected, they're on the take. Is what you're saying is they're on the take, even the Democrats?
Well, they're on the take before that, because they get their money from those people, and they do that people's bidding.
So you
got ALEC, the bunch of businesses that write the laws for the gosh darn governors and legislators of the states and the federal government. They write the laws for them, and then they give them the money as lobbyists to implement the laws.
Did you know there was a big article recently that lobbyists, that I think it was, they used Monsanto as an example, I believe. Do you know that $2 million every quarter, every 3 months, is spent on lobbyists alone in Washington? So that must mean it works. Paying lobbyists, right?
They spend hundreds and hundreds of millions. They don't pay lobbyists. Lobbyists pay them.
Lobbyists pay them. So
you mean the corporations pay the lobbyists?
In other words,
and the lobbyists pay the politicians.
Right. So it's $2 million per quarter as an average estimation.
I'm sure it's a hell of a lot more than that.
Per quarter, yeah. Just like
that's not a lot of money. That's $8 million a year.
Just like the unemployment rate is way underestimated, the percentage, but it still is. But yeah, See, if lobbying wasn't, it's obvious. Lobbying is very successful, obviously, because it works, because people in Washington are taking the money. But lo and behold, when election time comes, they feel your pain, and you see the crocodile tear. And unless they're Republican, then you don't see any crocodile tears.
No.
You see crocodile tears from John Boehner when Americans can't maximize their profits. Then you see people like John Boehner weep. poor
but it's pathetic because they still have supporters. This is the problem.
Lemmings.
This is the problem. It's the same thing what I keep saying about the Roman Catholic Church. They still have supporters. But just a cursory glance at history would drive people away. Anybody who had a conscience, a moral compass, or some shred of decency. Have you no decency, Senator?
Americans are very gullible people, aren't they? They're very gullible.
Well, they are certainly not open-minded.
They're not open-minded,
Okay.
independent, free thinkers. But the Europeans know it. They know it. They're slick. They're smart. And I knew they would.
Well, they're not too smart that they allow the alimentarius in there, the coda.
Should I say European politicians have a similarity to American politicians? They took the money.
Yeah, the similarity is money, yeah.
Greed, greed. The devil's economics in the end times. Vanity, greed. All right, we're going to take a short break. The Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman will partake in his astronomical
Gastro.
Wait, hold on for a minute. Let me hit myself with the shillelagh. Boing. Gastronomical delight known as lunch, followed by high green tea. We are back. While Dr. Bill is eating, while he's consuming his nourishment, I'm going to do a little promo. See this guy next to me? Right here? It's a self-portrait of the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman. It is a wonderful watercolor painting because the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman is a wonderful watercolor artist. You can see the William J. Eisenman collection of fine watercolor art on the internet. Just go to Google and type in William J. Eisenman collection. Thank you. Gotta love the mold spores that are part of this warm winter we're having. Anyway, you can see the William J. Eisenman collection in a slideshow to very pleasant Caribbean steel drum music by typing in William J. Eisenman collection, Megalife 21, or you can go to newslettercensor.com and see most of it, not all of it. Or if you're a member of Facebook, you can check out William J. Eisenman's Facebook profile, and he has his paintings there. I believe all of them. If you like, or almost all of them. If you like something you see, or if you see something you like, same thing, right? You can acquire one of his watercolor paintings by sending him an email, send Dr. Bill an email, and asking him if this particular painting is available. If it is, make a decent gift offering. The bidding usually starts at $500 each. If you make a reasonably nice, ample gift offering for one of his paintings, of course you will get a free annual subscription to Newsletter Censored. Where is this thing? I think it's right here.
New issue?
The new issue.
Thank you.
Okay. Newsletter Censored number 118. Is that correct?
Yep.
Titled Without Natural Affection by William J. Eisenman, Ph.D. This is brand new. This is hot off the pancake griddle. Without Natural Affection. This is the new issue of Newsletter Censored. This is the very best way to be a part of our organization. The very best way to join our organization is to get your free annual subscription to Newsletter Censored, founded in 1977 by William J. Eisenman, Ph.D., the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman. And there's nothing like this in the mainstream media or the mainstream press. Absolutely nothing like this. This is naturally very hard-hitting. It is the underground media. There is more information in the newsletter than there is on our websites or on any of our talk shows, and it's loaded, and absolutely loaded, with hard-hitting information. It's the kind of information that most people are afraid to hear. Can you handle it? Can you handle it? It contains the 5 taboos of American life, which is politics, religion, health, human sexuality, and child rearing. Just simply go to newslettercensored.com, read all of the hard-hitting information there, click on the printable order form, and with your gift to support this work, get your free annual subscription to Newsletter Censored. You need Newsletter Censored because we are living in the end times. You need Newsletter Censored to guide you to learn how to defeat a conservative, and to learn all about, of course, if you go to newslettercensored.com, you will click on Dr. Bill for President and learn how to write in a candidate, because the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman is running for president as a progressive independent, once again for the 3rd or 4th time? Third time. So you got here the political monologue, followed by the God Project. The God Project by William J. Eisenman, Doctor of Divinity, where he shows you what the Bible really says, not what right-wing fundamentalist counterfeit Christians tell you what the Bible says. Okay, and then last but not least, you have Sexuality, a Holistic Approach by William J. Eisenman, PhD. So go to newslettercensored.com now. This is the very best way to be a part of this organization. You need Newsletter Censored. Excuse me, uno momento. Okay. We have this high, I guess it's mold spore count. I took 2 Benadryl, but you know what? It must be really bad because I'm still suffering a little bit. I mean, I'm not going achoo, achoo, achoo. I'm not having the attack that I had when I woke up. But you know, there you go. Brand new Newsletter Censored, hot off the griddle. And speaking of griddle, I made my usual multi-grain sourdough pancakes on my cast iron rectangular griddle. It fits over 2 jets. One side is a griddle, the other side is a grill. And I make my sourdough starter multi-grain pancake batter from scratch. It's very simple. And then I have the those stainless steel rings where you pour the egg into it, and then you get a perfectly round hockey puck shaped egg, similar to the Egg McMuffins they sell at McDonald's, you know, and you get it's all good. And of course, the more you use a cast iron cookware, the more seasoned it becomes, because you're putting oil in it, or lard, or you know, anything that emits fat. So the darker, the more you use cast iron, the darker it gets, the better it cooks. You know, even heat distribution, non-stick surface is natural. And for those of you that want to start off with a set of cookware, let's say you're a newlywed couple and you're getting your first place to live for the first time, I would get the most versatile pots if you want to minimize your cookware. I would get like a cast iron chicken fryer, which is a huge skillet that's kind of high on the side, and I would get like maybe a good galvanized steel or cast iron wok for stir frying. That's pretty. It's something you would use often, you know, with a dome lid, and you should be good to go. And then, you know, a stock pot for doing other things, baked enamel on steel stock pot. You don't have to spend a fortune on good cookware. You do not. You just have to, if it's cast iron or if it's a galvanized steel let's say, hand-hammered wok that has a flat bottom, the best way to season it is to start off by cooking fatty pork, you know, like bacon and sausage, and the fats coming out of the meat will naturally season your cookware. And then you should be good to go after a couple weeks of doing that. And anyway, pancakes were splendid. They were great. Let me make myself useful. And we have one more animal shelter article.
No, we do not.
I thought we did.
No.
Oh, because you said we have a couple. We have a couple.
We have a tie-in.
Oh, a tie-in.
Yes. Very important tie-in.
Okay.
Because if they can do it to the animals, they can do it to humans. And they are doing it to humans.
Wouldn't surprise me. Well, if you have poor human beings in America, especially veterans being abandoned and living in tents and being threatened to be evicted out of the woods, gee, what a luxurious life, living in the woods.
Steve used to build houses near the Jersey Shore.
Okay.
Now he has no home of his own. Living in a tent in the woods with other homeless people in Lakewood, New Jersey.
And of course, the wicked, selfish, greedy, stingy Chris Christie, Republican Chris Christie, can care less, because if he cared, there would be no tent communities in New Jersey.
They'll be able to stay there a bit longer.
Oh.
After a state judge on Friday refused the city's request to shut down the camp.
Where are they going to go?
And remove its 25 to 75 occupants.
Remove them? They're human
Wonder where
beings.
they will remove them to.
Remove them to where?
Maybe they'll set up a concentration camp in Lakewood, New Jersey. And remove them to that.
Yeah, well, Republicans would love that, since they're fascists.
Acknowledging the decade-long dispute can't go on forever. The judge wants both sides to work out a solution soon. But for now, Steve, who wouldn't give us his last name, said he's glad he won't have to pack up and move. Homeless people have been living in the woods on city-owned land for about 10 years. Oh, geez, let's see, 10 years. Does that take us back to the George W. Bush administration?
Sounds familiar.
But it's all Obama's fault today.
Yeah, but Obama inherited the mess from G.W. Bush.
I think history doesn't stress that too often, especially GOP history.
Well, especially since every time the Democrats take control of Washington, the conservative propaganda from the GOP is relentless. It doesn't stop. The lies don't stop. They're like a woodpecker continuously pecking on the same tree. Doesn't stop.
The obstruction doesn't stop.
They have an agenda. Their agenda is me, and greed, and money-oriented profit. But the funny thing is, Dr. Bill, in order for the progressive views, or the Democratic Party views to be not heard and to be suppressed, and in order for the Republican views to be put in place and successful, don't you need a media to do what I just said? And isn't that happening with the American media? That the progressive views are never heard?
Especially with Fox.
Yeah. Well, no, all of them. I never...
Oh, yeah, all of them. But I'm saying Fox is strictly dedicated to the GOP.
I mean, yeah, obviously. But, well, I mean, all the entire American media as a whole...
Are corporate-owned.
They keep on covering the Republican point of view and the Republican 2012 campaign. They don't interview anybody from the Democratic Party. They don't interview any progressive, independent progressives, nothing. All you see and hear is Republican this and Republican that. It doesn't stop.
Over the years, the Republicans have been very good at claiming there was a liberal media bias. And therefore, any other media which wishes to take on the GOP and Fox News and their side of the story is referred to as a liberal and is dismissed out of hand.
Yeah.
And CNN and those don't wish to go there.
Well, News 12 New Jersey are major Republican and corporate ass kissers. They're constantly bragging about how wonderful everything is in New Jersey, and they do it with a big smile. And they also pat Chris Christie on the back all the time. They don't criticize Chris Christie, and they never interview the other side of the coin. They never interview anybody from the homeless Lakewood tent community. They never cover.
And if they do, they make sure he's someone who has a difficulty speaking or a difficulty maybe in language, or
they cut him off.
I'm not going to say mentally ill, but you know.
Yeah, but I'm sure they cut.
Maybe has. Yeah, well, they display them. They display them as see the freaks here. Just like Occupy Wall Street.
They demonize.
You see the freaks that are occupying Wall Street? What the hell is there? Their argument is worthless. They're freaks.
So they demonize. They demonize the poor living in tents like they demonize the Occupy Wall Street protesters. And they probably they will cut you off, or they will cut them off if they start telling you what really is going on in New Jersey or in the country. If they start criticizing life in New Jersey or the country and all the negative things that Chris Christie has done. Let's say you want to talk about food pantries being closed in New Jersey by Chris Christie. They'll probably cut you off, News 12, New Jersey media, or whoever.
CNN has done that to Ron Paul. When he gets talking about the stop the wars, bring the soldiers home, all this other stuff. They don't like to hear that.
No, it's okay to have the children of America's poor get killed and get their legs blown off for war profiteering. Of course, that's okay, right?
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good business.
So the problem here is the media. The media is, instead of showing you both sides of the fence and covering all opinions.
Well, they needn't show you both sides of the fence. They lack in showing you the truth.
That's what I mean. The truth.
Because the truth has no two sides.
No, but they're hiding the truth. And they're promoting the lie. The media. I'm talking about the American media.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the reason why the Republicans won the election to control the Congress last November. It's because the media is doing this, and perhaps the media, and most likely the media does this because their sponsors that pay their salaries are corporations, and corporate is always behind the Republican. Just like the unions are always behind the Democrats.
And that's why the GOP wishes to destroy the unions. Okay?
How could you destroy organizations that are possibly made up of lots of people?
They've been doing it. Once upon a time, unions were like 30-some% in this country. Now it's down to like 8 or 9. They've been doing it.
Maybe there's not enough old-fashioned kick-ass going on. You know, if there was enough kick-ass going on, you know.
There's too much accepting of the Reagan philosophy about government, about people.
Reagan's a lying demon. He was a lying demon, just like G.W. Bush. Demons. Lies.
But these demons get into positions of power.
Trickle-down economics.
Spread their demonology.
Trickle-down economics was a big lie. Proven lie. Anyway, continue.
They've been there for 10 years. Pitching tents or erecting crude shelters. 3 years ago, Lakewood filed a lawsuit seeking to shut down the camps. But the case has dragged on since then. Friday's hearing was on the city's request for a court order shutting down the camp. But Superior Court Judge Joseph Foster refused, saying several important legal issues still remain to be decided. He asked both sides to come to an as yet unscheduled hearing with proposals to end the standoff once and for all, even as he acknowledged both sides are growing more frustrated. When you take someone else's property, you can't expect the property owner isn't going to say at some point, enough, the judge said. Enough, agreed Michael DiCicco, an attorney for Lakewood. Exactly. At some point, we have to control our property. But Jeffrey Wild, a Wyckoff attorney representing the homeless at the camp, turned that argument back against the city. On behalf of the homeless, we say, enough, he told the judge. None of my clients wants to live in the woods in the middle of winter. Lakewood and Ocean County have been ignoring the laws that say no person shall be unreasonably denied shelter. Wild first met the Tent City residents on a trip with other volunteers from the Barnert Temple Synagogue in Franklin Lakes, which has been donating food, clothing, kerosene stoves, and other equipment to the Tent City residents since 2007. The judge agreed that the government has an obligation to care for the poor on some level. But he said he didn't know if he has the authority to compel specific remedies, such as forcing Lakewood or Ocean County to spend certain amounts of money to provide for the homeless. Advocates for the homeless say the Closet Homeless Shelter is in Atlantic County, which offers only short-term assistance and has a waiting list.
Short-term. And a waiting list.
But the city contends the camp is a hazard, noting that one resident has died and another was seriously injured in propane stove accidents in recent years.
Doesn't surprise me.
But, you see, there's no explanation,
well,
except money, why they are not taken care of.
Well, if the rich paid
these people are exemplifying the Republican the attitude of up by the bootstraps.
Yeah, bootstrap my dick. My ass. Up
they
by
are
the bootstraps.
Individuals. They are up by the bootstraps, taking responsibility for their lives.
Where? Where are the jobs? Where are the jobs? Where are the jobs? I'll shillelagh their skulls to a million pieces. Where are the jobs, Republicans? Where's the opportunity? Where are the jobs?
McDonald's.
Fuck them. You know how long it takes to get, you know how lucky you have to be today to find a fast food restaurant or retail job today? You think they're plentiful?
Well, that's only one job,
lousy, degrading, stinking, lousy, degrading janitorial or fast food hamburger flipping or, what did I say, retail jobs. You think there's a lot of them too? No, there's not a lot of them. Up by the bootstraps. Screw them. The fact of the matter is the rich don't pay any taxes. The rich
haven't been.
Normally we would say the rich do not pay their fair share in taxes, but that's not true. They don't pay any taxes at all. If they paid their taxes, if their tax burden was put back on the shoulders of the rich like it's supposed to be, like it originally was in America, then you would have decent, safe, clean housing for the poor and the homeless, since there are no jobs in America. And this message is to you fat fucking pig, a greedy, stingy Chris Christie and the whole ilk, all of yous, all the holy rollers running for the GOP nomination in 2012, preaching religion, having the audacity to tell you about God. Now, all of yous, there's no jobs out there. You're a bunch of stinking, lousy liars, and they want to get rid of everything, food pantries, shelters, and then when they live in tents in the woods, you want to evict them from the woods. There's no running water. You Americans that take a shower anytime you want and have a cozy, warm house in the winter, and are able to prepare meals in your kitchen and have a stove and a clean place to sleep. Just think about it.
And a toilet to flush.
And a toilet that flushes. You know, instead of walking outside your tent and freezing your ass off and your genitalia off just to relieve yourself, to detoxify in the woods. Give me a break. Give me a break. Wake up, people. These are all lies. This whole Yankee Doodle Dandy crap about helping big business because it stimulates the economy and it creates jobs. These are all lies because the jobs have been outsourced.
The economy in this country since 1950 has only been stimulated, the growth factor, 4%, 5%, when the taxes were raised on the rich. It is clear history. All you need to do is look it up. In fact, there was a graph on Facebook last night. There was also a graph
I missed it.
for another lie.
Maybe I haven't. Yeah.
Another lie that is constantly being told, that Americans pay too much taxes. I got news for you. Every other industrialized country in the world, except Chile, pays more taxes per GDP than America.
Yeah, what was that? What was that other statistic since 1776, since the birth of the United States? What is it? Only what percentage?
10%.
10% of.
That's the debunking of the lie of upward mobility.
Only 10% of Americans since 1776 ever raised their standard of living.
To the point of being, rich or upwardly mobile.
Yeah, upwardly mobile. Only 10% have ever increased
90% live, work, and die without ever getting there.
Without ever getting where? Raising their way of life, their standard of living?
Yeah.
So the stagnation. So 90% of America since 1776 remain stagnant.
And yet...
If they died... at a certain level, if they were born at a certain level, they died at that same level. 90% of Americans. And yet what?
And yet, the Republicans have harnessed these people as their supporters. Amazing.
Well,
absolutely amazing. Well, it's as if a supernatural force has influenced them.
Hear that? Well, the Republicans have failed on their campaign promise of taking the tax burden off of the middle class.
They never promised that. Where'd you hear that?
Wait, the Tea Party. They
never promised that.
They never said that. Well, wait, did they ever say the middle class is unfairly burdened?
Never.
They never said. Then why are the middle class following them?
I just said. Maybe some supernatural influence.
I know why the middle class voted Republican last November. I'll tell you why. It has to do with right-wing fundamentalists, evangelical zealots, religious nuts that only vote according to their cult. I call it a cult. I don't call it real Christianity. I call it a cult.
Well, let's look at it this way.
They only vote because of certain crazy issues. They're so preoccupied with getting raptured up, sucked up in the sky, that they forget about their own survival, the here and the now.
But that's only a fantasy. Why would somebody with a mind devote their life to a fantasy? The point of all of it is, if there's a God, then 99% of all religions are garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And he has his own way of wanting to be worshipped. And it is your job, if you call yourself religious, to find out that way and not to make your own, which they've been doing for thousands of years. They make their own way of worshiping their own created God.
Yeah, well.
If you call yourself a Christian, you have the Bible, the handbook. You know, when you buy a new car, you get a manual, do you not? It tells you what to do and how to run the car.
You get an owner's manual.
Owner's manual. Well, that's what the Bible is. So it tells you, if you call yourself a Christian, it tells you what a real Christian is and what God wants the Christian to do. Or the elect, in this case, what to do. It's right there. Clear and simple. All you have to do is spend a little elbow grease, a little, do some homework, and you find out. You don't bring in holidays like Christmas and Easter and New Year's, and then you look in the Bible and you see that God only has 7 holidays that He wishes you to observe forever. And His New Year starts in the spring, not in the winter.
And these holidays, these original holidays, are not about buying presents for people and stimulating the profit of retail industry in America. You know, hey, in the world tomorrow, every man and woman will own a piece of the rock, so to speak.
Piece of the rock, yes, indeed.
Yeah, have his own land to till and his own a way to make a living that will not be subject to working for some corporation and getting a piddly little now since you income. Do we have a good last?
Yes, you mentioned taxes there. Now,
heavy duty article. Do we have a good article here?
People and businesses underpaid their taxes by an estimated 17% in the most recent year studied, failing to send the government a massive $450 billion that was owed, according to an Internal Revenue Service report released on Friday.
Okay.
The study covered 2006. The most recent data the IRS said was available. The amount of underpaid taxes far exceeded the size of the entire federal budget deficit. Audits and other enforcement efforts. Non-compliance in 2006 shrank to 14%. That left the final amount of unpaid taxes at $385 billion.
Right. Wow.
So now let's examine just who are those people who are not paying their taxes. Can you take a guess? Would it be the little guy making, let's say, $16,000 a year?
No, it'll be the people that don't pay taxes are the fat cats.
I see. Then why did the Internal Revenue Service get told to go after the little guys instead of the big boys?
Because the politicians are whores and they're in bed with the big boys. And so they gave the orders to go after the little guy?
And the big boys have liars for hire.
Yeah, that's a corrupt lawyer. Corrupt lawyers.
Ain't that an oxymoron? Ain't they all corrupt?
Yeah, well, corruption...
You know, about a little more than half of the Congress are lawyers.
So, so the tax system is the way it is for a logical, pre-planned reason. It's rigged that way.
Leave the big boys alone.
So
that's what it is.
The tax. I mean, look. Like we said many times before, we don't have a spending problem in America. We have a lack of revenue problem because the rich have not been paying taxes. So therefore...
Well, they've been paying taxes, but they just haven't been paying their fair share. Yep. Some don't pay anything at all.
So it's
like 60% of corporations.
60% of corporations don't pay anything or their fair share?
Nothing, honey.
Zero.
Zero. Nada.
That's the real truth. That's not part of the lying propaganda you get from the Republicans.
I got two other small ones here to get in before the end here, okay? Until recently, I blamed our financial crisis totally on our banking industry and financial market greed. Then I learned about their push for repeal of the Glass-Steagall Act of 1933, the law designed to prevent a repeat of the stock market crash of 1929 by separating investment banking from commercial banking and creating the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC. In 1999, Congress caved in to pressure from Wall Street and the banking sector with passage of the Graham-Leach-Bliley Act. The Senate voted 90-8, and the House 343-86, effectively removed the separation between investment banking, securities trading, and commercial banking. The repeal directly contributed to the financial crisis of 2007 to 2011 and beyond. It allowed Wall Street investment banks to gamble with commercial banks' deposits and caused the mortgage mess. I asked Congress to reinstate Glass-Steagall. Yeah, right. Like that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And one last one. In response to Republican presidential aspirants Rick Perry, Michelle Bachmann, who is there no more, Rick Santorum, the Salamander Gingrich, and Ron Paul, signing on to a stringent Personhood USA pledge that urges opposition to abortion without exception and without compromise. It seems to me that the Republican candidates want to protect the unborn, but once the birth occurs, they don't want any part of making sure the babies are cared for, fed, clothed, housed, or given medical coverage. To me, it just doesn't make any sense that you would have a baby born, then have it starved, give it no permanent place to live, and provide no medical coverage for its young life. I think that's a lot crueler than having an unwanted fetus born. Guy's
sure.
got it right on the money, don't he? Thank you.
Oh, yeah. It's like they think that a fertilized egg is a human life. My God.
And of course, that is what? That is a religious idea, which has no bearing on our secular laws.
Well, religion and secularism, secular laws should never be combined, because American citizens, supposedly, unfortunately, the burdened taxpayer is made up of all different kinds of people, not just right-wing fundamentalists, evangelical, holy roller religious nuts. They're made up of Hindus, of Buddhists, of Muslims, of Jews, of atheists. You know, so you have to respect that, and you just can't, you know, just because the Republicans have their cult, that's what I call it. I'm not even going to call it Christianity. I'm going to call it a cult, because many of the variations of this form of Christianity is very cult-like. Okay? So I am not going to call it a bona fide representation of the God of the Bible. because it's
not.
It's not. It's actually far from it. It's far from it. For those of you, speaking of the God of the Bible, don't forget to listen to the God Project with the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman tomorrow, every Sunday, starting at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time from the Mega Life 21 Hard Hitting Truth Internet Talk Radio Station. And the link is on our Newsletter Censored Facebook page, and the link is also at the top of newslettercensored.com. So check it out. It actually looks better. Made some new improvements. There's a very lovely computer clock right below the live stream video screen. Very cute looking, very nice. And we have some new aesthetic changes, which are very, very lovely. But anyway,
I think you should put it up on Facebook tomorrow. The link.
It is.
Oh.
What I did was I posted.
No, not on the Facebook page for that.
No,
I mean on the activity wall.
The activity wall, yeah, which is called Home.
Home.
I put, and I quote, Holistic Health Talk is now on the air, and then underneath it, the link to the radio station. And I did that. I do that with Progressive Discussions yesterday. I do that with Censored, the Real Hard-Hitting Truth on Thursday. And I've been posting on the home wall that announcing what show is on the air and the link to the radio station. And the Newsletter Censored Facebook page is open to the public for view. You do not have to be a Facebook member. I think for people that have a Facebook profile and do not have a special promo page, you make the promo page, which is free and is viewable by the public, by looking in the upper right hand corner, and there's a button that says create a page. So in other words, if you log into Facebook and you look to the upper right, it'll say like create page, something like that. And this is a page where you can put photographs, you can put blogs, you can put information about
the fan page?
Your agenda. It's similar to the fan page because when you create it, it'll ask you, is this a public figure? Are you a public figure?
Yeah.
Now, if you're an entertainer or a sports celebrity, you would classify it under public figure, I believe. If you're not a public figure, if you have a business, either internet or local business, then you would classify it as such. But it is a promo page, so you can technically call it, I don't know, let's just pretend that you're calling it the William J. Eisenman Collection. Let's say you want to take all your paintings and put it on one public page. You do it. You say anything you want. You put the links to whatever, your newslettercensored.com, so on and so on. You can put tons of photos, and then what'll happen is somebody will can go to Google and type in William J. Eisenman, Facebook, whatever, and it should come up. And then that person would not have to have a Facebook profile and would not be required to log in.
And now, how would you access it from Facebook itself?
You access it by going to your home page, and on the upper left it'll show what groups you belong to, what groups you own as the moderator.
No, not for me. I'm talking about for someone else.
From someone else?
Yeah.
If that already logs in?
Yeah. How would they know to go there? And how to get there?
It's linked. I believe it's linked on your personal Facebook profile, but
so in other words, they have to go to my profile,
right? Or you can post. You can post the link to that public page on your profile, or on the.
It still involves the profile.
Yeah. It's like
it should be a separate thing, like
An advertisement page or something.
Yeah, like in other words, let's say you wanted to keep your private personal life on your William J. Eisenman Facebook page, but you wanted to promote the paintings and the newsletter on a publicly accessed page.
Right.
This is the kind of page that you would create, and when you create it, it will contain everything you wish it to contain. But it will
people have to access it from my profile.
Well, if they're already logged in, yes. But this page will be publicly available to people that are not logged into Facebook and not necessarily have a Facebook profile of their own. They can get to it from Google. It'll come up, and all the pictures and all the links and all the info. You know, you would write the info. You would edit it, and you would put anything you want. You can put things that are educational. You can tell them about yourself. You can put links to, let's say, Newsletter Censored, or whatever you do. And or you can make a page and sound like a blithering idiot and put down da is all I want to say to you, or what's that stupid song Phil Collins sang, Su Sudia, which I hear was gibberish. Anyway, you can say any dumbass thing you want. You can say any superly high intellectual thing you want. You can promote yourself as an athlete. You can promote yourself as a politician. You can promote yourself as any public figure you want, or agenda. And it's publicly available. And people can access it from their smartphones. Whereas I believe with MySpace can look like a website if you want. It can be a good promotional website, and it's available to the public, but from what I understand, you can't really view it from a smartphone. And I think this is what made people that invented Twitter and Facebook so damn popular and wealthy, is because today there's the craze with the Androids and the Blackberries and the smartphones, and people do everything on their smartphone today. With the touch screen, you know, the Android and everything, and now you have the tablets.
Yeah.
You have the tablets with the simulated keyboard that pops up, and a tablet looks like a laptop without the keyboard.
Looks like a little television.
Exactly.
Thin.
Very thin. I've worked it during Christmas Eve. My sister received one of these tablets as a gift.
Wow.
And I think it was, was it Samsung or Toshiba? I know her cell phone is Samsung, her smartphone. But anyway, it had the touch screen, you know, and it was like, wow, damn. And if you want to type something, you bring up this like virtual keyboard that's at the bottom, and you know, no keys, and you type it. And anyway, these smartphones can access Twitter and Facebook. They just don't. They're like my page is aesthetically. In other words, if you put an animation on MySpace, or not JavaScript or Flash, that's not working anymore. But if you put like a GIF animation, and it'll show up. If you can put whatever background you want, it'll show up. But Facebook has its limitations, because I'm assuming that in order to have all these extra aesthetically pleasant things on Facebook, it would cause the page to take a lot more time to load. It wouldn't. In other words, the smartphone does not have the memory to load somebody's page in a reasonable amount of time if the person has animations.
Well, I don't know about that, because it can play television programs and movies.
People are able to view a video via Facebook. They can.
I don't know via Facebook. I'm saying on their smartphones.
Well,
you can hook it up to your TV. You can play TV on it, and you can see movies, videos.
Yeah, well, if a person can view a YouTube video on their smartphone, then Facebook should be able to make their pages more sophisticated, or give you the option.
Maybe it's the problem of size. You know,
a Facebook page on a 3-inch monitor? Come on.
Scroll, 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 scroll. Exactly. Vertically, horizontally.
Yeah.
You cannot see
right.
a web page that is fancy schmancy on
almost,
a little...
Almost as busy as a Yahoo homepage.
Oh, my God. The Yahoo homepage?
Oh, you know what all Yahoo's doing now?
Too busy, man. What?
I can't check my mail.
And why is that?
Well, they changed everything. And you have to update. But they used to have, they still have it, but it ain't working. They have it on the bottom. Let me see this for this time in the old version. And you click on it, and it'll show you the old way that it showed it to you.
The old classic
now
version.
Now they want you, you know, the new way. I don't know if I can do that.
Let me tell you something. The old classic version. The old classic
versions are good.
The old classic version has a lot less glitches than the so-called new and improved versions.
Well,
you know what I mean?
But the new version is, you know, it's the bigger screen and everything.
Yeah.
So,
well, Yahoo is very glitchy. Yahoo Inbox, the Yahoo Mail is very glitchy as compared to, let's say, a Gmail, which is owned by Google. Has really no complaints, as far as I know. If I had to start over again, I go with Gmail. I go with Gmail from Google. I hear no complaints about it. You know, and anyway, thank you for joining us for our 101 Progressive Discussions, the anniversary show. There was way too much going on for the New Year's Eve special to celebrate the anniversary. So let it be this way. 101.
Of course, you did have your stupid noisemaker.
Oh, that.
All you needed was the hat and the confetti. You know?
I'm surprised Satan. I'm surprised Satan didn't drop in last week. Maybe he's due to drop in soon, since it's 2020.
Maybe he don't like the years passing so quick because he sees his ultimate
demise.
And
of course, voting in Republicans to control Washington will speed up the end times.
Yes, it will.
8 years of G.W. Bush and Dick Cheney definitely sped. Is this such a word?
Sped up, yep.
Sped up the end times, without a doubt. So now we have a Republican Congress. Add a Republican president. Oh, you'll speed up the end times. You'll speed it up, definitely. Anyway. 101 Dalmatians, was that the...
That's the show.
It's your, anyway, 101 Progressive Discussions. The
Cruella de Vil.
Our, huh?
Cruella de Vil.
Yeah, our anniversary show. Take care. Say goodbye to everybody.
Hasta la vista.
All right.
Baby.
Hasta la vista?